Something that we didn't show on this is when you are delegating, don't just walk away and come back 3 hours past the deadline. So if you needed something by Friday at 5 and you delegated it, do not wait till Friday at 5 to have a conversation with the person. Who's accountable and responsible for what you delegated?
Who is delegating?
Person who's delegating. How many times does somebody delegate something and then when it's not done right, the person turns to the person delegated to and say, you screwed up? Often. You maintain responsibility. If the person screwed up, it's because you made the person screw up. I know that sounds a bit harsh. It sounds harsh. And sometimes you do have poor performers and such. I'd even argue that that's the manager's fault then for having delegated to that person, because you shouldn't have chosen that person. If you're delegating something and the person doesn't produce the output, it's typically the manager's, I hate to use the word fault, but the manager screwed up. You didn't delegate properly and you didn't follow up properly. You got to keep that responsibility and the accountability. You cannot transfer that to the employee. Yeah. Saya?
So it's also the manager's job to follow up on that task, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you can follow up every single, let's say it's due in 2 weeks, follow up every single day if you need to, or follow up at least once every 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
When you delegate, one of the first things you should do is schedule a meeting with that person you're delegating to at some midpoint to say, hey, I'm going to find it, right? Put it into your calendar. That's on you. It's not on them. Now, if you're being delegated to, you can do the reverse. You can turn to your boss and say, hey, would you mind if I scheduled you into a checkpoint 3 days into the task? Cool. Any questions in anybody's minds around this? All right. We want you to shift from doing things to leading things. I'm not going to read all this to you. Work will get done because the right people will be focused on the right tasks. I like this one. What not to do is as important as deciding what to do. You got to decide what you don't want to do. Now, we talked about, and you're going to be watching a video for 2 minutes. There's a gray area of, am I delegating everything temporarily, or am I delegating things temporarily, or am I delegating things permanently? If you're delegating more and more and more, you're changing the person's job role. Just remember that. And if you're changing a person's job role and you're giving them more responsibility, more accountability, and more authority, you should therefore give that person either a promotion or a raise or something. Okay, let's watch this video.
My simple answer is everything. So the objective of delegation is for you get to the point where you're not doing actually any of the implementation to produce bigger and better results. And I call this who, not how, that basically we all get into entrepreneurship, we all start a business because we know how to do something. And we get paid basically for the fact that we have a particular skill, produces a particular result. And when you do that, you've actually kind of created a business, but actually what you've created is a job. And so the jump that you want to make is from having created a job for yourself, where you're the boss, to actually having a company where you are surrounded by an increasing number of skilled individuals. And these individuals can be inside your company, they can be outside your company. But what you want to do is to have more and more goals, bigger and better goals, and then say, now who is it that can actually do the how for me. I'm not going to do the how. My how is to visualize a bigger and better result. My how is to define the what of that result and the why of that result, and then define the who, or rather whose, who will actually do all of the hows. And that's never ending. So I was doing that 40 years ago, and I'm doing it today. And my delegations today are incredibly bigger than my delegations 40 years ago. So if
Skip ahead.
this interests
No, that's not it. There we go. Any questions on that video? So here's your career advice. If you can't hit the stuff that's more important, and if you can't lead as effectively as you want to, you won't get the promotions. You won't, I'm assuming you want the promotion, right? Or you want more of a challenging job or something. You want to grow in your career. Let's put it that way. If you're always stuck in doing all of the tasks and you don't grow your team and get the team to do all of these tasks for you and really well, where you can focus on more of the strategic stuff, you will never be looked at as a leader and somebody who can deliver the higher value stuff because you're always busy doing. So you want to transform yourself towards that, I would suggest. All right. This really is the process of delegation. So starting at the top, you choose the task. What is the task I want to delegate? You choose the person. To whom should I delegate this task? It can't just be anybody. You have to have the right person. If you don't have the right person, do not delegate. Again, set the clear objectives, the plan, implement it, monitor it. That's key. That's where you're having these follow-up meetings 2-3 times a day or 2-3 times a week. And you want to evaluate the task. At the end, once the person's done, most managers will say, done, thank you very much, and off they go. Wrong. What you really want to do, you actually want to sit down with the same employee and say, hey, let's debrief. How did that go for you? What did I do that didn't work for you? What can I have done better? And what could we do differently next time? Once that's done, then you're finished. I would argue that most managers do not do that last piece. They get the deliverable and they rush off to their next thing. So as a manager, make sure you're doing that. Cool. Any questions? So same thing, identify one thing that you can do differently at work this week when it comes to delegation and how you delegate. Last piece, levels of delegation. It's going to be rather fun. All right. There is no breakout room. We're doing this as a class breakout. If you go back to Moodle and you grab the last breakout called Delegation Poker, please go and download that. And I know it's hard to download and pay attention to what I'm talking about, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a game of poker. We're going to take turns sharing any task. So one of you will will think of a task that you're currently working on at work, and you're going to start sharing it with all of us. You're going to describe the task, and you're going to say, I need to delegate this task, and you're going to say, whatever, right? Once you're done, we're going to look at some delegation cards, which are on the next slide. Let me get to them. These are the cards that you see on your thing in Moodle, right? Everybody has this. So let's see. Let's use the example. Jason is going to share with us his task. He's going to say, and he's saying, I have to delegate this task to this person at work. Jason, as you're sharing the task that you want to delegate, you're saying, you're going to tell us, I'm going to be delegating this to somebody who's whatever. You're going to describe the person. All of us will privately being key, say, I think Jason should just tell them I think Jason needs to delegate fully here. So one is I need to tell them precisely what exactly it is that they need to do. Number 7 is, hey, these guys are amazing. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to fully delegate. So that's level 7. So it's a person on your team who's done it a million times. You can trust them. You know they're going to get it right. You don't have to check it in on them very often. Number 1 is usually somebody who's junior. Number 4 is, hey, yeah, I'm gonna sit somebody down and we're gonna walk through it together. We're gonna agree together on the steps and yada yada yada. Does everybody get the numbering system? All right. So here's what we're gonna do. So each of you will choose one of your cards privately. You're not gonna share it with the team. Once everybody's got their card picked, Jason will count to 3. He'll go 1, 2, 3. As soon as Jason does that, using your hands, because we're not in class and we can't show our physical card, using your hands, you're going to go like this, 7 or 3 or whatever. Keep your fingers up and no changing. The people with the lowest cards, so with the lowest numbers, they have to explain why they chose the lowest number. So if you chose a 1, you have to explain it. People with the highest cards, it must explain the reasoning behind their choice. Everybody earns the points that they selected on their hand. So if you chose 2, you get 2 points. If you chose 5, you get 5 points. So the higher up you go, the more points you get. You'll win. However, if you're constantly the person with the highest card, you do not earn points. So you can't just always pick 7 because you'll get 0 points. And we'll just repeat. So that's it. Questions?
So I am going to be sharing a story about a delegation to an individual. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And all of us will do that. So who wants to go first?
I can
All right.
go.
Oh. Aaron, you're going.
Okay, sure. So I'm delegating a task to one of our, I guess, veteran employees. And the task is we receive, so I'm in just a little bit of a backstory. I'm in a courier company, so we receive a lot of shipments and stuff, and a lot of them get held up at customs. So we're trying to reduce it as much as possible. And one of that is to provide proper descriptions for customs. So I'm delegating my task to a said employee who has been in the position for quite a while now to contact the account executives to have the contact direct to the shipper to see if they can tweak how they complete their documents instead of just writing a generic word example samples. Specify specifically samples of, textiles, fabric, as specific as possible. This way it will help to the customer down the line that it won't get delayed. So the delegation task is to have that employee contact these heavy hitter shippers with their account executives within the company and to have them contact the shippers to update their systems to properly show the description.